Hey everyone, my name is Wedge. I know we're all really into Eldritch Moon preview season right now, but I have to take a moment and talk to you about taking advantage of this distraction. This happens every preview season. Everyone pays attention to the new cards and then buys up everything in standard that looks even halfway decent. See Relentless Dead, FYI. Anyways, that's what they do. Today we're going to talk about commander cards that are really cheap right now and that will go up in price over the long term. We'll be using TCG player pricing and MTG stocks graphs for the video. So get ready to hopefully save some money down the road. If you enjoy videos like these and want more in the future, make sure to hit that like button. Helps out a lot. Now remember, this is a list of the top 10 commander cards you should buy right now, as in are cheaper than they should be, which means none of these cards are in standard. If you want that list of cards, you can check it out right here. See, it's super easy. Without further ado, let's get right into it. We'll begin with honorable mentions as per usual. Our first is Soul of New Phyrexia. So many players forgot this card even exists, but it's amazing, seeing play in a lot of commander strategies. It's colorless and it gives all your permanents indestructible on a stick. You can't say that about a lot of cards. Stick this in something like Duretti, Slowbad, Muzio. There are plenty of places a monster like this fits. Right now it's sitting around $2.50, but it's been gaining slowly for the last year. Not going to be $20 anytime soon, but still a card you should be aware of. Our next honorable mention is definitely not cheap, but I believe it's as cheap as it's going to get. Mugen the Spirit Dragon has hit an all-time low this last week. With all the focus on new standard, even modern is being pushed aside a little bit. Mugen is a staple in many modern Tron variants, in addition to his extensive play in Commander thanks to his colorless nature. This is one of those walkers that will likely get the Karn treatment. It'll tick up in value slowly, becoming absurdly priced until no one can afford it. I don't want to wait for that reprint. You can get near mint copies right now for $20. I consider that basement pricing for Mugen, and you should too. Whether it's any of the Eldrazi commanders, Karn, Teferi, Temporal Archmage, getting Mugen now is worth it. Don't wait too long on this one if you can afford it. Before we get into the list, there's one more thing I have to mention. This list doesn't include standard cards, remember? That's why the Dragon Lords from Dragons of Tarkir aren't on the list. But they should be cards you pay attention to as the set rotates out of standard and most of them lose their value. But for right now, they're definitely not at bottom prices yet, so just stay patient with them. List time. Number 10 is not one card but 5, mainly 3. The Khans from Khans of Tarkir, Narset, Sidisi, and Zurgo specifically. Serac and Anafenza, while played a lot, aren't as popular. I mention these specific commanders because they're incredibly popular and they're from a set that was open to High Heaven looking for fetch lands. You'd think that means stay away. No, that means get in while the prices couldn't be lower. We're talking pennies for Narset, Sidisi, and Zurgo. All 3 of these cards are really popular in Commander, but get this, right now, this very second, you can get foil copies of Zurgo for under $2. Normal copies near 50 cents. What about Sidisi? You always hear people talking about her. Under $1 per copy, $4 for foils. This is like thrift store pricing. Narset, the most popular of them all, under $1 with foils around $6. I can't stress enough how stupidly priced these cards are right now. It will take a while for them to go up, but I mean, come on, you can get a set of the Khans for under $10, probably under $8 if we're being honest. They're pathetically priced, take advantage. Number 9 is Dictate of Erebos, easily one of the most popular black cards for Commander printed in the last half-decade. Sees play in Mirren, Gisa, Mazarek, the list is endless. I'll be straightforward about this. Grave Pact is cheaper, harder to cast, doesn't have flash, and has been printed 6 times. It's still around $10. Dictate of Erebos has flash, easier to splash, less than $3. How does that make sense? Dictate of Erebos is simply criminally underpriced. Even foil copies, which look amazing by the way, are barely $7. That's cheaper than a normal Grave Pact. I'm sorry, but I don't see why Dictate is still this cheap, and I know I echo a lot of Commander players when I say that it will go up in price. Do not miss this $3 card. Number 8 is Obelisk of Earth. This is more of an all-purpose recommendation, but it does see play in every tribal commander deck I can think of. Snakes, birds, goblins, lots of stuff. It's a tribal anthem effect. You all know that these are rarely cheap, right? Settling around $2.50 right now is a really enticing price for the Obelisk. Only ever been printed once and is still relatively new, so the supply is around. If you're interested in playing tribal anything, I'd pick up an Obelisk. Can't hurt, right? It's $6 for a foil even. Seems super underpriced to me, at least in the long term. Coming in at number 7 is a card that's been sneaking up in price without anyone noticing. Liliana of the Dark Realms is played in so many commander decks I can't even count. Her +1 is wonderful for fixing, her -3 is devastating removal, her -6 is a hoot and a half. Maga, Drana, Colostria Bloodchief, Geth, there are more than enough examples explaining why Liliana has value. She bottomed out on price in the summer of 2014 at around $5, but since then, she's been creeping up, now around $7.50 for near-mint copies. I expect this trend to continue long-term. While she was printed twice, we're far enough away from those printings that Liliana's rise makes sense. Grab a copy if you need it. Number 6 is another card that's just good to have for general use. Mana Confluence. This wonderful mana source is played in variants of every 5-color commander I can think of. All the slivers, Reaper King, Scion of the Ur-Dragon, it's a slam dunk. The mana is so easy, why would you say no? Best part, it's sitting at an all-time low now. Yeah, around $5. I'm sorry, but that's offensively cheap. There's no way this card keeps that price, not a chance in Nyx. It sees play in Legacy and Modern too. Versatile land cards always have value. Always, Mana Confluence will be no different. Breaking into our top 5 is Stronach Resonator. I'm sure this is a card a lot of you either forgot about or were positive would never be on a list like this, but yeah, it's here. Whether it's Brago, Kirkesh, King Makar, Stronach Resonator is heavily played. It's one of those really unique cards with a very specific purpose. After a recent jump, it's landed steady around $2.50, but with one printing, I expect that price to tick up very slowly over the years. This isn't exactly the kind of ability Wizards puts everywhere, you know? If it gets reprinted, it'll be a miracle. Card's super cheap for the power of the ability, and again, I don't see this coming back anytime soon. Grab them now before the real creep up begins. Moving into our top 4, we have Clever Impersonator. I have talked about this card so many times it's going to make me blue in the face eventually. Clever Impersonator is one of the most versatile and powerful clone effects in Commander by far. It just is. What makes that dangerous is that it's a mythic rare. The card has all the makings of an overpriced Commander staple, but luckily it was printed in Khans of Tarkir, which was open to a ridiculous degree, so you can still get copies for around $3. That's actually stupid. It doesn't even make sense. The Commander power of this card is worth way more than $3. It definitely is. If you've played with the Impersonator, you know what I'm talking about. That versatility is unmatched. Any non-land permanent, come on, it's $3. Please get it now before players realize what's going on, if you need it. If not, good on you. Top 3, let's get our Theros block on. Number 3, all the temples. All of them, every single one. They're all in thousands upon thousands of decks. They're all great because scrying is great. And they're all dirt cheap, like bottom of the pit cheap. Thanks to extensive play in Commander and minimal play in Modern, these will creep up. They've already started penny by penny. If you only need one copy of each, that's fine. They're all sitting around $2. It's totally reasonable. While I don't expect these lands to ever be like $10 each, I could see them hitting $5 or higher over the next few years. No rush, but I figured I'd remind you since lands are basically the key to the soul. Number 2, Niccolo Shrine to Nyx. The fact that you can still buy this card for $7 blows my mind. Not only does it see play in Modern and Legacy to an extent, but it's a Commander powerhouse. It's amazing in so many strategies. There aren't enough words to talk Nykthos up enough. Easily one of the best lands for a Commander printed in a long time. Great in Elves, anything tribal-based, anything focused on one-color permanents. This card goes in so many strategies, I really can't even narrow it down for you. Nykthos has all the markings of a $15 Commander staple. I think $7 is a steal, and you should too. Alright, finally made it to the end of the list, number 1. So what Commander card should you get right now if you need it? Number 1 is made up of 10 cards, the Gods of Theros block, that's right. These gods are the definition of long-term value. They're practically oozing with flavor. Newer players love them to death. And who doesn't want to play with gods? Come on, it's crazy. In all seriousness, these gods will be Commander and casual staples forever. They're iconic in Magic's history now. They're gods. While some have started ticking up in price faster than others, Heliod, Nylea, Ifara, Karametra, and Phoenix are all still super cheap. The rest of them, while being a bit higher, are still worth grabbing if you can. Never, ever underestimate the power of a cool card to increase its value. The gods are cool cards, players love them, and they're already starting to move up. That will not stop, and they will not be reprinted anytime soon. You've been warned. And that brings us to the end of our list. There are obviously a ton more cards that you should probably pick up sooner rather than later, but we don't have time to go over all of them. We had to choose the most obvious offenders of fair pricing. I think we did a decent job. Let me know what you think about our list in the comments, and if there are any cards you think we missed, please leave them below to help others out. We all want to play more Magic, right? We can do that if we get cards affordably. We're all in this together. As always, subscribe for the latest and most reliable Magic the Gathering information you could ever need. This is the Mana Source. I'm Wedge. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.